Financial disclaimer. The information provided in this stream is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered as professional financial or investment advice. We are not licensed financial advisors, and the content presented here is based on our personal opinions and experiences. Investing in stocks and other financial instruments involves risk, including the potential loss of capital. Any investment decisions you make are solely your own responsibility, and you should conduct your own research and consult with a qualified financial professional before making any investment choices. The content we share on this stream may not be accurate, complete, or up to date. Market conditions and financial regulations can change rapidly, and we cannot guarantee the accuracy or reliability of the information presented. We do not endorse or promote any specific stocks, companies, or investment strategies. Any actions you take based on the content of this stream are at your own risk, and we will not be held liable for any losses or damages that may occur as a result. Always remember that past performance is not indicative of future results, and no investment is guaranteed to be profitable. Make informed decisions and consider your risk tolerance before investing any funds. By accessing and using this stream, you acknowledge and agree that we are not responsible for any investment decisions you make as a result of the content presented. You are encouraged to seek advice from qualified financial professionals for personalized guidance. Please invest responsibly and only with money you can afford to lose.
Hey man, just found the next guaranteed multi-bagger.
Hey man, you found another one? What is it this time?
Come check this out.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Laughing Stock. Obviously, as soon as I started here, I clicked my mic's volume into the wrong part, so messed that up. So I hope my voice sounds fine. Let me know if something's messed up, please, in the comments. I do have it up today. It's just me solo today, trying something new, just because, honestly, I've been trading more often than not, as opposed to investing. Figured it'd be cool to do a live stream. And the other thing, too, is, you know, the process is, it's kind of critical to see it when it is live, because so much of this comes down to your timing and being able to kind of quickly select a few different variables to actually take a buy on. And on top of that, you kind of have to do your diligence the day before. You know, I do go through my setups now, and I'll find the stocks that look good to me. And then on the day of, there's like a few things I'm looking for. And, you know, that's it breaking above the pivot point, having some kind of volume coming in. I know some people kind of get this confused, it seems, and I've been there before too, just like thinking that it needs to be super, super heavy volume. And if you're looking for like an episodic or exotic pivot, whatever you want to call it, that you're going to want a ton of volume, heavy right on the rip. So if there is news or something, maybe then I want the volume, but most of the time, I really don't need a ton of volume coming in. But the one thing I do want to see is, regardless of how much volume is coming in, that price moving and it kind of being tight. So, you know, making sure there's good liquidity, which means, you know, like the spread isn't massive. And if the price is kind of on its way up, that's a good time to get in. So you know, I used to be like, you know, I got to get in at this percent, and I used to kind of calculate it, and I'm not being quite that picky anymore. You know, at this point, I'll just do a market buy, and I'll take my position. And you know, probably the biggest change that I've been doing lately is I've been taking a lot larger position sizes, which it takes a little bit to get used to. I've definitely gotten hit. My overall hit rate the past probably month that we've been off has been lower. But what I wanted to do is, as opposed to the shotgun spread idea, you know, I just sat there and did the math a ton of times, and it works in a way, but honestly, you kind of need to go pretty concentrated to really make the math work in your favor. Like if you really want to outperform. So, you know, the smallest position size I'm going to take is 10%, and my goal is 25 to 30%. Well, what that means though is that your risk rate, if you're keeping it low, you kind of have to be in and out of these stocks quick if it doesn't work. So the goal and the idea is, and a lot of great traders say this, and you'll see it, is when something starts to work, that's when you can take your buy. And I don't even trade, you know, every day. I might watch the market for the first half hour. So we'll see. I know the futures look down a little bit right now. It's 9:15 Eastern, so we got 15 minutes till the market opens. But Yesterday was a rate cut, which, it seems to be, I don't know, the past 2 rate cuts, the market dips after the news and then jumps up. So we'll see. I think this in the morning here is kind of like the Dow's break even. But everything else is down about 0.5%, or Russell's only down 1/4, but the Russell's actually been doing decent, if I remember right. But another thing I'm trying to do here, and I'm going to work on this today after the stream. I have the day off, so I'm going to really clean up some of this. Some of the things I was pulling from, they're old, and like the links aren't working and stuff. So some of these numbers have been out of whack, and I have to check them to verify. So like when something's really up. And it also sucks because I'm missing things sector-wise that are up that I'm just not noticing, because in here it doesn't look like it's up. And I'm not going through 150 of these, every day to try and figure out if my thing works right. So I just got to clean it up. But it is updated in terms of all my tickers and all that stuff. So I'm glad I got to get that done before the stream. And you can see the way stock charts has changed. I used to have it where this was like 3-month. That's what RK used to do. And, this was just priced for the 1 year. But when I pull it up here now, as an example, so now it's set up as, and it has my moving averages as well. I still have Bollinger Bands on. I like to just have them there. I feel like it's good to have. I don't know. I know Lance, he uses them, the Bollinger Band, and I've always liked them. So, this is an ETF, so it doesn't really matter. But between the moving averages and that, I need that in volume, and then I have just ATR still. And I do now when I screen, I can't screen exactly for ADR, but I basically do like a form of ADR, just by looking at price and volume over, like a simple moving average essentially, and making sure it's above a certain percentage based on close price. So essentially I am calculating and screening for ADR. So I set that usually on most of my scans at least 6%. So the ADR has to be 6% or higher. So you can see, a lot of my style is kind of a fusion of different people that I enjoy. And honestly, the whole concentrated thing came from really looking into Dan Zanger. His style when he really performed was to take heavier positions and really follow that philosophy. When you get into a stock, if that price isn't kind of skyrocketing pretty quickly once you're in it, even if it's bouncing around, I used to just sit there and wait, and I'd let it come down a little bit, and I'd let it go up. And at this point too, if a stock's kind of bouncing around and doesn't seem to move in a direction yet, that to me means I kind of timed it wrong, even though I know that's down to the minute or whatever you want to say, because in the next 5 minutes it could take off. And but I would rather take like a 25% position, let's say, and if it starts to pull back, immediately out, just immediately out. That's what I do now. I might give it like like 30 seconds to a minute after I buy it, just to kind of let things bounce around a little bit. But if it seems like it's pulling back, with that large of a position size, I'm not taking any risk on, so I'll just get out of the position. You can always go back in. That's the thing, is like, a big part of my screening process now is I'm down to only, I probably pull in like 5 or 6 setups a day that kind of look good to me. And on top of that, my watch list now is probably around 30 stocks that I kind of keep an eye on. This is my current one. You can look at these names. Do not buy them, because this is there's a lot going on here. Some of these I'm keeping track of. I just want them in there. It doesn't mean like the setup's good today. And some of these they worked yesterday, for instance, and I'm just watching them today to see how they perform. So not all of these are buys. These are just things that I'm watching for various reasons. But I'll scroll through in case anybody's curious. And once the market opens and things are kind of moving a little bit, we can open up these charts and just kind of look through them, and I can kind of go over some of the things I'm looking for. But the other exciting thing that I really want to work on, and part of the reason I'm trying to clean up the old dashboard and everything, is also the fundamentals. So basically when I first developed this for deep value, it's really great for that. But a lot of these companies, ways you can get screwed in doing it this style is, they can sell shares at the worst time for you. And, when there's an offering and you just gotten in, even if you're up, like that stock price is probably going to tank like 20% overnight. And you can really get hurt by that. So just some simple analysis of like, where is the company at? You know, do they have cash on the books? Like, how close to bankruptcy or you know, burning, how quickly are they burning through their cash? Because maybe that will just give me just enough hesitancy that even though I like the setup, maybe I won't choose that one. And you know, I know Minervini and a lot of these guys, even Kulamagi, which both of them basically say that they're using earnings in revenue growth, and those are obvious ones. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure that out. And like, for instance, like ABAT that I have pulled up here, I like the chart on this one, which, you know, this is another one. And now I think about it, I got to update these charts because this is the problem. Like, this is my old style I used to have this set up as, so I'll have to go through this one and change it as well. But let me just go, because I don't want it to look like that. I need it to look like this. So AEVA right here, super clean to me. It broke down, rose back up, nice tall flag, and it's just moving perfectly sideways. So obviously the breakout point would be around just over like 1620, or the pivot point, whatever you want to call it. So this one's interesting to me, and some decent buying pressure. Holy smokes, I can't talk. And this is typically a well-performing stock. I mean, if you look at historically, you know, this to me is super obvious. That consolidation there, and you get this huge move. Pulls back, it does now kind of what I see. It's that cup and handle look, and then here's that like tiny handle, and then, you know, works its way up again. Finally breaks down, head and shoulders patterns, like, you know, it's funny. I used to give so much shit to technical analysis, and now I just see it so clearly. And you know, then it breaks down, clearly breaks down, and then you form, you know, this base here, and can't break out, breaks down. And now, this is, like I said, first time this chart looks interesting to me. You have this there, and then you have like this sideways channel here. There's a million lines for you, but they mean something to me. If you don't see that, then you need to go back and look at setups, because I finally do feel like I see all this now, and I can look at a chart and kind of just see where things are at. All these moving averages are combining. The 10 and 20 are trying to catch up. Not saying it's a buy today. This is just one random example I'm pulling up because I thought this looked decent. And like I said, there's good buying pressure that had just came in recently. But that's not talking. I don't know what the story is here, and that's what I'm trying to say. So I want to bring back a little bit of the value side of things, at least just to kind of get the story, get the earnings, and see where the cash is. Because, like, for instance, this one doesn't have earnings. You know, it's all negative. P's negative. Earnings per share is at negative. But obviously, it's a well-performing stock, and yes, it is in a downtrend. But I would argue that it's just broken out of that downtrend for the first time, which also is usually a good time to look into something, because if it breaks out again from here, number one, there's this flag pattern here, or this sideways channel, but then there's also that longer base pattern that I showed you over here. And if you just, you know, sorry to keep drawing these lines, but if it can break through this line, you know, if you consider this kind of like a base pattern or a long base pattern, if it can break out through there, then this could be like a multi-move, a longer run thing. And in this market, since it's been so choppy, I kind of almost am day trading in a way, because I typically don't hold much overnight. I'm not going to buy and sell it unless something really starts to pull back or it hits my stop loss, which is, you know, now, for instance, something goes up like a few percent, I'm going to put my stop loss on right at break even, just with the larger position sizes. It kind of guarantees that I can't get screwed on these things. And then that doesn't mean I'm done for the day. It just means I'll kind of keep an eye on the stock. I'll set a price alert on stock charts. I ended up upgrading to Pro on stock charts, so I have everything like full speed. The information comes very quickly to me, so I'm happy I decided to upgrade. And then on top of everything, I'm probably just rambling here. Sorry guys, we've been off. It was such a pain. There's a bunch of stuff that came up, and Johnny and I were trying to get streams up, and like every weekend one of us had a problem, and it just kind of kept falling through. Just busy with life. So that's why I thought today would be a good opportunity to knock some stuff out, and hopefully get the stream back on track, get my trading back on track, because it's been tough. I haven't been able to watch this past like week or two. It's been real hit or miss on the days I've been able to follow, which obviously can perfect or impact my performance. So the S&P, it kind of has recovered recently, I've gotten kind of smoked. I'm not gonna lie. In the past, let's see, in the past month, I'm down 7%. Which, like I said, I'm also, you know, I was trying to, you know, go up with these bigger position sizes, and this is where I came up with the idea of if, and Dan and all these guys talk about it. If it doesn't go your way right away, like that's why you get out. So if you're gonna take this more aggressive style. And as always, this is not investing advice. This is just educational. This is a style that I use. It's not recommended for anybody else to try. Do your own due diligence. Talk to a fiduciary. But if you're going to do something like that, you have to really protect your downside because it can go quickly against you. And I'm not saying there can't be a gap down or something that just hits you hard. But the idea is you're taking such heavy position sizes. I mean, if you think about it, if you go 30% in on a stock, which is probably my upside goal, I wouldn't go any over that really, unless I'm up a ton and there's like a second setup, I might go, you know, another 30%, but that would be after trimming and everything anyways. If a stock that's up, you know, let's say it's a 30% position and that stock makes it up 10%, that's not that crazy. You know, I see stocks go up 10% a day all the time. If I just in this environment where it's so quick and the volumes, a lot of volumes dry, like it's, you know, you're not seeing these like heavy volume days lately. And that's just because no one really knows where the markets are going. Well, what are the futures doing right now? Let me just update this real quick. They look a little bit better actually. So it looks like maybe we're going the right way here, even though everything's still technically negative. Dow's up. And the other ones are recovering and looking a little better. Where was I? Yeah, but okay, so at 30% position, I'm up 10%. And if you just sell that at the end of the day, which is the goal, you know, for most of this, if the setup's really clean, and let's say at the end of the day, there was a really good volume that came in, I mean, something could be up 20%, let's say, really heavy volume came in, and the end of the day ends at the top of the candle, that's enough encouragement for me. I'll trim. Even on day one, I will still trim. Like lately, I found that's the better thing. I used to do the 3-day breakout test, you know, because that's typically in the market where I had been measuring it. And I've noticed lately it doesn't seem that the 3 days any kind of guarantee. A lot of times it's only for a day or two that these things go. And there's so many more that are breaking down right now than actually continuing to break out. It just seems safer to me to just get out of the position. Just, you know, take small gains. You know, I'm not trying to shoot for home runs right now. And then, you know, as you watch this, you're going to see more and more stocks once we get into like a better market. And even a sideways market, there is stuff that breaks out and continues. But with that being said, you're going to find ones that when you're in, you're going to watch them keep working their way up. And when they do and they perform well, then I'll trim slower and you know, I'll hold for that 10-day moving average, kind of like Q does. And or something, or you know, I also like Lance's. He sells when the next day has a close below the previous low on a candle, which if you go back and historically look at charts, it's a really solid way of doing it. It might get you out of a little bit faster than a really long extended move. Like Q, he can get like 200% returns probably on some of his swing trades. And like Lance, by doing that, he's probably going to get more like 40 to 50%, which is still huge. I mean, especially if you're taking large positions. I mean, but and that's my point. Taking a 30% position, you know, if you're up 10%, you sell at the end of the day, it's a 3% gain in one day. Which, I mean, if you know, even if you compound just 3% a week, that it's crazy high. So the real trick that I've come to conclusion on, and I've gotten burned a few times, you know, kind of watching something dip, and instead of selling like I should right away, I'm like, let's see if it comes back, and one will come back, and it gives me this like, you know, like you're like, yeah, that's the idea. We should just kind of stick it out a little bit, and then you realize the next like 5 don't, and you end up taking a little bit more of a risk loss than you want. I'm trying not to put stop losses in. I don't know if it's just me thinking that the computers are seeing it or not, but I feel like when you watch, and the other thing too, this has saved me once or twice, and the reason, so I don't put hard stops in anymore, unless I can't watch. If I'm gonna buy something I can't watch, I'm still gonna put a hard stop, and if I get stopped out, I don't care. That's just for safety reasons. You know, I'm not buying something and then not watching it very closely with a large position size and not putting a stop in, but if I can watch it, I won't put the hard stop in. I will just sell at a certain number. I'll have it in my head before I go. And most I want to take on a loss is like maybe 0.5%, which is even high for me. I try not to even go that high. So we're talking I can buy a stock and it can be down just a few cents, and that's enough for me just to get out. I timed it wrong. And then when it does work, the ones that do work, they're quickly up, 3-4% above where you got in. I'll immediately set that at break even. So now I can't lose anything on the trade. And then kind of from there, I'll watch it. If it really pushes higher, I might move that even higher to kind of lock in some gains for the day. And or I'll just kind of watch it from that point. And like I said, I'll get used to kind of trading at the end of the day. I found I used to be like at 9:30, you really got to be on it, which, it's not to say that you don't have to be, because it's 9:29 now, so everything's about to open, but it just doesn't matter so much. Like, I don't really care. But anyways, so the idea is we'll kind of watch the first, few minutes here and see what's going on. And then what I want to do, like I said, is I want to start going through some of these tickers that are added onto my list. And then I want to redo the database here because a lot of this is old now, and just kind of putting the stuff that I'm more looking at like right now. Like I know I had a watch list and on deck, and I don't know if I'm going to keep all that because honestly, I'm not trying to build this out where like I'm deep value. I'm trying to wait until the whole market crashes and then do all my trading or investing right then. But so let's get rid of this. All right, so we're open. I've been using stockanalysis.com as opposed to Yahoo Finance, and I do like it. So just kind of gives you an idea. So basically what I'll do is at open, I'll have my current list up here. Let's just refresh this. Oh, PL already broke out. So, and like when I see something like that that's up 23%, it's not going to happen. Although, and that's on pretty tight volume if I remember right. So anyways, we can just quickly switch over to a chart list. Well, actually, let's do it this way because we're gonna have to bounce around. I'm not used to doing this on here. So this gapped up. Same thing. Had a flag candle there, and then. This one's really tight. It's you might not have the goal to go in on this one just on there, but I would argue that was pretty tight. It's a little flag, but look at bam. And I mean yesterday this is the signal that you should be looking for. And I have to get better at this too. I didn't even notice it, but look at the volume that came in yesterday on that small candle. When you see that much volume come in, and if you just look historically, that's a strong day for this stock, and it doesn't take a genius to see that. When you see that kind of volume on that tight of a candle, that could almost be a buy. And if you look let's look at the extended hours here. Extended hours right at the end of the bell. I mean, this thing just took off. I mean, there's a lot of buying pressure even after the market closes. I mean, you're gonna watch this bounce around a lot. This is why never, if you see something up 20-some%, you don't need to take it. But this would have either been a good one now, like now as this pulls back, you can watch it. So if we look at it like an intraday here, I've been using 2 minutes. I got that from Lance, and I kind of like it, which it's kind of useless right now. So let's look at an hourly chart. Well, you don't have much candles here to go on, but you could use this as low of the day, figure out where you think that's going to be, and as this bounces around, I would argue that you have to get back onto this chart. I don't really use the intraday chart too much, but just when I'm trying to kind of see where things are if I didn't buy right at the open. If we go back, so unless PL pulls back quite a bit, and then it starts to question, like, is it worth getting in there? Sorry, I'm just trying to keep this on the 5. Anro's another one that looks like it's starting to move, so let's see what Anro's doing. Looks pretty good. Still just have one candle right now, so it's hard to say too much on. Oh no, that was from the day before. I apologize. This is another thing that kills me. So this is from yesterday. So I see something like that's up 7.7. All right, and okay. So the only thing that's really up today is the PL jump. Which, see, so it tapped that 18. That's why I said sometimes you can just kind of wait. And if you do take it on that, like, you can call that a pivot. I don't know. Was there news on PL? Is that why it flung up? Could have been earnings. I don't know. I didn't even. Yeah, so they just reported. So obviously it must have been good. So this is an episode of Pivot instead. So what you do want to see is good volume. So what was the average volume here? How did I get to that? Did I click the wrong thing? So there's already 4 million in volume. And see, so it keeps breaking down to that 18%. So, on the daily too, if you're looking at one of these, I want to see this form some kind of better base than this, because I don't want to get in on this and get stopped right out. So you can see it's still going to bounce around for a little bit. I kind of want this one to pull up and then just use whatever the low is to that point, or whatever your risk rate is. You can use either. You're going to have a better shot if you use kind of low of the day. That's why Q and them use it, because there's a better shot it won't push through that number. So low today is 1501. So you got about a 40 cents. So depending on how much risk you want to take on there. And I didn't get to see the numbers, so I don't know. Is this gonna not? Yeah, it's not gonna show me. So it reported 81 million in sales, and Wall Street was looking so they just beat the sales. I'm sure there's other metrics that they beat too, so it doesn't matter. It's an EP. Other than that, PACB, this is one I actually liked the chart. In SSP I was in earlier this week. I actually had already traded this one. Super clean setup. If you look at SSP right now, I think it's clean. I get it. It's somewhat choppy here, but I thought it kind of you could kind of just see this cone pattern here. And to be honest, actually, this first one, I actually had drawn it like that on this day. So on this day, I bought it and got on at the end of the day, and it kind of bounced around, but it's now kind of moving sideways, and it could easily move up from here. So it's still on my list. This is one I maybe could have held. I just I didn't have much confidence. Like I said, I really want this thing to push higher on a day if I'm going to take it and hold it, and then I want it to be basically right at the top of the candle at the end of the day. If it's not, that to me is just enough that I'm not going to stay in it just on that alone. And PACB, this was another one that I like to set up for. So you can tell, same thing. It hasn't broken out yet. So I'm not saying this will, is there. But if you just look at, it's that same pattern, flag pattern. It's really consolidating. There's not much volume left, but the past few days there's 3 down days, and the volume there was super low, which gives me some confidence, because that's kind of what you want to see as it pulls away from the last jump. So I'll keep an eye on PAC, because PAC looked good to me. See, like I said, PL, you probably could have jumped in there, because I'm assuming this will keep going up from here. I don't do EPs yet. I just haven't spent enough time watching them. But I do notice on a lot of my good setups, a lot of them are EPs. And that's the reason why, is because it kind of sets up, and then you're kind of watching, and then some of these spike. And like Prax was another one the other day. I've been watching for forever, and actually looks like it's kind of setting up as well. If this has decent volume today, this could jump again. But this one was more of a channel, so it's more this style, where this is just kind of your base there. If you really want to say it's a kind of tightening up in that realm, that's fine. You either one doesn't matter to me. I don't care about the bottom line anyways. I'm not even waiting till it to get to that to sell out. I'm basically just trying to get in once it passes through here. But obviously this one jumps. And this is one that ended up, even if you had bought it open anyways. And now, like I said, it kind of looks like it's tightening. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not saying it's going to do anything. I don't say, you know, I've learned when it comes to chart reading, you watch for the setups, and if it works, it works. Wow, it's PL up to 20. Yeah, see, now it's jumping right back up. So this could have been played well. So that's the thing. Usually, if it's going to take off, I mean, you can try and hop in right away with like PL. So like if you just kept watching that, you know, price just keep flying up. And I don't read the tape. I don't really care about reading the tape. If you want to, it's an option, I'm sure. But I just don't really care. I will say, you know, if these are my watch list right now, let's say, you know, most of the stuff's under 2%, which means, you know, I would say 80 to 90% of the stuff I'm looking at today is already not really showing through much. So that just kind of makes me cautious. Let me see what HYMC is doing here. This looks pretty good, actually. So once again, holy shit, it's the same pattern. You know, it's these spikes, and you know, it's not all spikes are perfect, but like, it's the same thing here. Like, you know, this is why I used to have a hard time, because I'm like, I don't see no cup and handle here. And the problem is it's just kind of like general, like here's the cup. You know, don't worry about all these dumb candles. It goes up to here, and then there's this quick handle. And yes, this day you could get burned on any of these, which is why I said, if you go in and it doesn't work, just get out. Who cares? Even if you're taking smaller positions, if I went back to doing 5% positions like I used to, I would take the same approach, because it's a different level of confidence you have when you're like, my downside is really, really tight. I mean, certain things can go wrong, like, you know, maybe I have to use the bathroom and I get screwed when I do that or something stupid. But like, I don't know, I guess set a stop loss while you're like, for the 2 seconds you're away from watching. And that goes to my point too. So like, you guys know, a lot of times I'm working my job, so I can't watch it like that. So, you know, if it's a day where I'm able to kind of keep an eye on things, like let's say I'm doing more computer work and I can just have my phone up next to me and kind of keep an eye on it. But if it's a day where I'm super busy with all the other stuff, then I'll just set stop losses. And if it gets triggered, it's okay, because my stop loss is going to be basically nothing. And all I need is, like I said, if you're taking a 30% position, I know it's a pretty large hypothetical number, but let's say I do. If it's up 3% and I sell at the end of the day, that's a 1% return on the portfolio in one day, on one trade. So pretty solid, and you don't always have to wait for these huge long moves. And to be honest, like, I used to look at this, like, for instance, like, let's look at this pattern here. This is the top of this one, and here's the candle as it kind of creeps up here. This is, I guess this could be a little straighter. This is so bad. Whatever, you get my point. Somewhere in there, right? Just ignore these other 5 lines there. Breaks out on this day, right? And so if I was to hold this for multi-days, like you see this pulls back a lot, and yeah, it might hit break even for you. And if you were to hold, that would obviously been the right move. It did continue, and it worked right along that Bollinger Band there. It pushed really well on that. And then you had your exhaustion day, which is where you'll see that huge top candle. It looks like this thing's flying, you know, it basically is going parabolic. And then at the end of the day, if it can't hold that and it sustains and it looks low, which this one closed where it opened, that right there should be kind of your sign. And this is where, depending on your strategy, like, you know, if you use Qs here on this one, you get out on this day, you lost kind of a big chunk of whatever percent left you had in the stock. If you get out on Lances, you'd get out on this day at that point, which is the, you know, it ended below the previous low on the day, or closed below the previous low of the day. So, you know, the real, you know, the top traders will always tell you, like Minervini and them, that's why they say, if you see that kind of parabolic move, William O'Neill used to talk about this, this is where you're trying to do something, and get out on that day, or at least trim. You should at least trim on that day. And, you know, as something gets bigger, he might not be able to, always, you know, do these things exactly how you want, but the whole idea is that you're just averaging everything. And I keep seeing it more generally. Like I said, I used to look at these charts and be like, well, this is all over the place, and some of them are too choppy. I'm probably not as strict as I should be in terms of how choppy things are, because some charts, like NBA. This is a chart I love right now because it's like the largest flag you can see. I mean, if you don't, and I really like the fundamentals on this one. I've actually been following this story. So you have this huge move here, and then you have like this, like one of the most obvious chart patterns I think you can find that's been going on now for 2 months. I mean, this thing, if it continues to set up, I mean, it's following that 50-day moving average. It has pulled back a little bit. It's only up a little bit today, but it's actually a decent volume already for the morning. But like you can see how many times it's gotten down here, and then there's just buying strength that comes in. It's not even that large of a market cap. We're talking 280 million, and they have a bunch of mines, and they're going to be doing the rare earth minerals, which they have a bunch of stuff they're opening in Alaska. They're also involved in Australia, but because of the issue geopolitically, these rare earth minerals are becoming super important. So I think that's initially why this took off. And that's kind of what I'm watching for. But I mean, this setup is crazy to me. And I get it. It's super choppy, but the fact that it totally respects these lines, even though it's choppy, maybe I'm wrong. I haven't had enough experience with that in terms of my chart reading to see how stringent I should be on that. But I like it, and it just continues to tighten, and it just keeps tightening, and I mean, I get it. Some of these lows have broken down, but they haven't really been below like this low, and this low never made it quite to that low. So those lows are climbing, which is, what you want to see. And all during this time, these other moving averages are catching up. So I'm pretty bullish on NBA, if I must say. And I mean, and like the other thing too is like some of these on multiple time frames look good. Like NBA, look at on the. So this is a 3-month hourly chart, but like same thing applies. I mean, even on this guy, I mean, this thing is just, I mean, that's crazy to see it tightening like that in my mind. So we'll see. I mean, for all I know, it's going to break down. now that I said this online, it's going to break down and it won't work at all. But so that's there. PL's still bouncing around. Is anybody else doing anything? Not much. I did throw NUTX on there because I thought NUTX actually looks really good right here. It had a super clean, so it had earnings again, still killing it. I mean, this EPS is still $17 a share with a PE of 10. And obviously this is values, little gem that he found. But I see the same pattern starting to form here, and this one, honestly, depending on what this does today, this already looks like it's kind of breaking out of that zone. Super tiny little flag there, but it's off this huge run up. So that huge run up's what you like to see. Huge run up. And I mean, well, actually, you know what? That's a poor example, but this gapped up and then at the time had this and then broke out from there all the way up. Trying to think if there's any other examples. And same thing, I talked about the exhaustion gap. This one didn't really have an exhaustion gap. What it had is actually this sideways move here, which should just be like a red flag to you. And then this day it just really struggles and it can't keep that pressure. I'm not saying you'd know to get out on that day, but as you're watching it on this candle on that day, for sure, this should be a warning that this has broken down. Now, don't get me wrong, it gathers at the 20 and then shows really good strength on that 20 here. And not perfect, but once again, here's a bit of a flag. And then same thing, it pops up, just there's too much buying pressure. So that's the thing, you're just looking for these patterns over and over and over again. So like here's the next one, and on this day it breaks down and it's clearly a broken down pattern, and from there on you don't have to do a whole lot of work here. It drops below even the 50, and then from there this isn't on my radar anymore. Maybe in here I'm seeing what it's doing, but once again can't break it, breaks down again, slopes. And the other thing I've noticed too is you have these like downwards channels. This is like the ultimate bearish indicator for me, is you get these downward sliding channels, and then it has to always pull off of those. And as it pulls off, you're waiting to see what the next setup is. And that's usually either the flag pattern where it pulls up and then creates the next flag. It could be a cup and handle where it pulls up and then does that kind of sideways move before it moves up. You know, and they're not always apparent. Like, you know, kind of here's a little bit of a cup. And once again, not super clean, drops pretty far, but finds support on the 200, comes up, has this sideways move here. Jesus, sometimes they're grabbing on this. Has this little sideways move there and then breaks down. So didn't quite work out. But even on that day, you didn't have to worry about this one. This one didn't break above. Like when I'm looking at my currents for the day, I mean, I know some people want like, or you know, say like, you want to cheat on some of these names, but get the heck out of here. But like any of these that are like negative for the day, like I'm not getting, you know, maybe if they might come up and then I'll start to get interested in them, but I'm never buying these if they're down for the day. I mean, that something's got to happen that should be pushing this up. So like I thought, it's kind of a slow day so far, and I kind of figured it would be. Oh yeah, markets are moving down. So usually, yeah, that's a beautiful chart. You can't even see it with my face in the way here, but I'll scroll down. That's where we're at. Nothing great. So this is like a good day for reflection, and this is kind of the thing is like, and this is why I think the guys who swing trade, it's better than day trading, because day trading is like you're like constantly watching like one thing and playing around with it. And like, it's kind of good. I can have a little bit more context here. Like, okay, I can see today has dropped down. The 10-day moving average is at 23.4, and we just broke through that. So now I'm looking to see if it can catch the 200 or the 20 and or bounce off and you know, kind of recover above the 10. But in the meantime, you don't really have to do much. But like I said, PL, that's an EP. And at this point, I feel like I missed it. But PL is like a perfect example of kind of why, you know, the day trading idea to me is interesting, because, you know, I saw that it kind of paused at that 18% mark, somewhere around there, where it was up around like 15 something, you know, 15.30 when we were talking about it earlier. And if you were to buy there and it pulled up from there, you know, if you got a sizable position, you're already up 6%. And like I said, if you sold 30% at 2%, that's 2% in like the first 2 minutes of the day for your portfolio for the week. So I definitely need to watch the EPs, because the EPs are interesting, because it's every time I watch them now, it happens right away. You get that morning and that you get really volatile after it comes out of the pre-market. And there's one of two things that happen. It usually pulls back, and then you look for it to find some base and try to get in at the base. And if you can get in and it doesn't break down right there and then you can get a quick win. If it takes off, you can try and get in on that. And then the only thing you can really do is just set your stop loss kind of almost at break even right away. Because if it does pull right back, okay, you didn't get murdered. And those are ones I would set the stop loss, like a hard stop loss, just because if you're buying and it's really moving around, you know, you're not going to catch it. Your eye's not going to see it, even if you're quick to sell. You can get screwed on that and sell. And not that it's a big deal, but once again, if it's a 30% position and it's down 2% from where you bought it, now you're down, you know, almost a whole percent on the portfolio for that one mistake. So that is really the trick. If you're going to try and be this agile, which is my goal, you have to be able to make sure that downside is super protected. Which, you know, like I said, I don't know why this was it was like a mental break for me to think that, you know, when I get into something, to give it room to breathe a little bit. But you know, I've kind of changed my philosophy now, where like it should go. If it doesn't go, like I timed it wrong, and it's okay, because it's not like you can predict it. You can see volume, you can see the news, but everyone's doing it at the same time, and now you're either going to be too late or, you know, or like I said, if it's pulling back, it's just not the right time. Like you shouldn't be pulling. It shouldn't be pulling back. Like it's just that simple. And who knows where PL will go today? I mean, PL is pushing high. So, and you know, high's already at 1650. So if this continues to accrue the volume, oh, and look at this intraday chart. I mean, this is tightening up nicely. So you're starting to see it. So here's that flag. I mean, we're talking about it. This is why I like cueing those guys, like bang their head against like this thing, saying like, just look for the setups. Because once you start to see them, like you should be able to see this. If you can't, if that doesn't look apparent to you, and this is the thing, like I said, one of the tricks I found too with this is you don't have to find like these, the candles don't all have to fit in these perfect shapes. It's just the general idea of what's occurring. And if you know in the background that supply and demand is constricting, this is going to go one of two ways. It's either going to break down or it's going to pop up from here. I mean, we can kind of watch this one as it goes, because this can be, I mean, the whole point of doing this live stream is to show you something live. But this is kind of how I do it. So, and then my goal is, so at nighttime, I'll run through all my screens. I do my market strength screener, which I finally posted again today. I edited that one a little bit because just like the failed breakouts, some of the things I was measuring are just kind of arbitrary and they're dumb. And it wasn't really helping my process. I just kind of want to see how the overall markets are moving. I want to see how many stocks are at all-time highs or at least 1 year highs, and how many things are up good percentage amounts. So, and you know, whether you want to use the solid part of the candle or some of the stick or whatever you want to do, like you can see either this is really tightening right now, or it's going to take longer to get to the point. Like sometimes you can almost start to judge how much liquidity is there. So like for instance, if I go back to, so yep, see, so that candle, it's still in that range there. So if you go like NBA, like when this breaks down and comes up, breaks down, like you just know that there's a lot more liquidity there. There's still a lot of people looking to sell. You know, there's a lot of people who probably bought up at this 16 mark and they're like I'm trying to get out of this bag hold. So, you know, every time it gets up here, you're watching that resistance, and like the next group gets out. Some people bought right there, so now they're getting out here. And it just kind of does that loop until it gets really tight. And then, you know, at that point, anybody who's going to sell because they took a loss or just trying to get out break even are gone. And the rest of the people are looking for a profit. They're happy where they got in. And then when there's no sellers and buyers start to pummel in, there's nothing that can happen that's going to change anything. That chart's going to go up. And then if there is no buying, it'll break down. It's that simple. So, I mean, that's what you're looking at every time on these charts. It's just that pattern over and over and over. And sometimes, like a day like today, you're going to see a lot of breakouts fail on a day like today just because the overall markets are down because of passive investing. There's so many people indexing. Oh, see, 27. Where are we at here? Where's that PL chart? Oh, boom. Look at that. Perfect. Perfect call. So, had that. Now, I wasn't watching it clearly, so this could have happened really quickly. So I'm not sure, you know, if that went up like 20 cents on one person buying. And the one thing I'll say about stock charts, and I didn't realize this until later, their volume data is delayed. They don't purchase it or whatever you have to do to get up to date. So I have TradingView on my phone. I just have the free version, which it's kind of a pain on the phone actually. I wish TradingView kind of cleaned it up. I just want to get to my watch list quicker. If you can make that a thing, like have an icon for a watch list. Like when I open my phone, instead of having to go through a chart and find it. Maybe that's just on Android. I do use Samsung, but whatever. But point being is, so I can't see how much volume really came in there. But if that was like, you know, if you're able to watch that a little bit closer, I will say I use Fidelity. And when I'm going to buy and sell something, Fidelity updates that volume like on the spot. So you can kind of like sit there and just keep hitting refresh. And it will show you as that price is bouncing around how much volume's coming in. You can get an idea. Almost like reading tape. I mean, it's not quite the same as having tape up, but I really don't care. Like I said, the tape's not going to be that helpful to me that it's going to make me make or not make that decision. And then this would be a good example of if you were in this EP, like let's say you had gotten in somewhere in here and luckily you didn't get stopped out, however it happened. And that's the thing is like, it's a lot of luck. So let's say you did get in. Well, now it moves up into this region. You're watching here. You got that stop loss at break even and it breaks out from this. Well, now I would argue that the next line of resistance is somewhere in here. So I would now move that up to there for that part of the day. Now it depends because I know that's more day trading-ish, but in this market, I find that because stuff's kicking you out so much quicker that you kind of have to have that mentality. And like I said, if you keep making it through those, if the stock keeps proving itself through the day, it's a great example of the day trade turning into a swing trade, because essentially everything you take on is a day trade initially, because if you're going to have a tight stop loss, I mean, if your stop loss gets triggered, it's almost like you're day trading, you know, I mean, I guess the differentiation doesn't matter to me anymore. The trade will last as long as it should because, you know, and let's say I held something for a year because it kept going up. I wouldn't call it an investment. I mean, I guess you could just because of the time you've had it. But the idea was that the trade just kept working. And you know, hopefully there's multiple setups and you're getting in and out. And, you know, I mean, if you want to be really disciplined, you know, switch over to like weekly. Like if we look at like the 1 week, which this looks like it's setting up to either break out here or if it stalls somewhere in here and moves sideways, you have a perfect cup and handle on the weekly. That would also be super bullish. But like I said, you know, we're talking about all these things. Like this is look at this chart on here. So you have this huge cup and handle here, and I guess we could say this is the handle part, and then it breaks out from there. And then once again, even on this, you have another pattern set up. It's another like channel where it's if this is your flag part, you know, here's the next base, and then it breaks out on this week, and then has that huge run up, and now it's pulled back again. And this is why Q and them guys are saying like these setups occur over and over and over. And if you have a good screening process, you'll have this list of stocks to look through. And all you need is one. Like today, I would argue, I mean, like I said, NUTX had a good setup. Some of these have decent setups, but I just don't see much coming in initially and it being a slow day. I doubt anything of these will break out. Now, if the comp, I call it the comp Q now, but if the NASDAQ recovers, you could possibly see some of these working out, but it continues to kind of just slide down. So I would argue no breakouts are probably going to work today. So I mean, I know it kind of sucks for the stream. I didn't buy PL. I'm not, like I said, I'm learning, and I like to be able to watch PL and just see, you know, does this make sense? Is it doing what I think it's supposed to do? You know, if I had bullish thoughts in my head and then I'm watching those basically happen before my eyes, okay, well that means going into the future, this is probably worth taking that risk on. You were able to see it once, and it kind of went how it looks. Like it looks like the chart's doing what I think it would do. So we'll see. So and see, it broke right back down. So you know, maybe you got kicked out here, but I don't know what that gain would have been. But if you got in at like 15.50 and sold out at 16 something, I know it's not a ton, but that's one way of doing it. And or just keep it at break even, you know, and then this could just be extended. It could be extended. This is going to go sideways for a while. So, and we're at 10 o'clock now. So usually that first half hour is where you'll see stuff break out. And since I didn't really see anything, I'm kind of done. The PL one's interesting to watch, but there's not much to say here. There's already 11, or that's 111 million in volume, right? Because I think this is always one decimal off. Let me refresh this. This says 15 million in volume. Is that right? Okay, so I guess this is showing me, it's kind of strange because some of these, they don't add the zero, and then other times they do add the zero for the volume. So don't ask me why, but you kind of get used to looking at it. But yeah, I mean, most everything else is slowing down. I mean, some of these other names. But just to take a break from looking at PL, you know, I can kind of show you. So, you know, I saw a flag pattern here on this one. And it did pull back there. So, you know, it starts to look like a channel. Now it's breaking down from that line. So, like, probably tonight when I go through, if this doesn't recover pretty well, because like I said, I don't really care what the low is. I more want to see where it ends for the day, just to see where the buying and selling pressure ended. I'll probably just take this off the list. And when I'm screening, this is going to come on my screens constantly just because of what it is. It's a high ADR stock that's had some big run-ups. So it'll keep appearing on my list, and eventually maybe it will set up again. And I mean, you look last time, it did a very similar pattern. It broke down. It kind of did this wavy triangle downwards. It's kind of like an NBA type, you know, chart. So if we pull up ABAT, so just like, so look at this pattern. See this wavy little pattern it's doing there? Now let's look at ABAT, and if we just zoom in on this section here, come on, somewhere in there, somewhere in here, it keeps getting tighter. And like I said, you can draw these lines a million different ways, but regardless of how you're drawing those lines, you're seeing that tightening occur. That's what you're trying to visualize on these. And then just waiting for that day that, you know, this one starts the day above the pivot point, And you know, if you want to get real nitty gritty on this one too, you can say, well, how do you know it didn't do it on this day? I'm not saying you wouldn't have bought it on this day if you're watching the stock closely, but if you did buy it and it doesn't work out, you're out right away. It's okay. Like that's, like I said, the goal is to just keep minimizing those. And as the setups get further and further extended, this should just give you confidence. I mean, especially once this hits the 50 and starts to ride the 50, and then, you know, it's getting tight on that. And then you start to have a couple positive days, and then boom. Wait, which day is that on, by the way? Sorry, sometimes I want to have like a 6-month chart here, because sometimes it's tough to see. What day is that on? Is that the same day? Is that this day? Okay, okay. It is. I thought this was on that candle for a second when I first looked at it, and I was like, wow, there's a lot of volume on. But you get my point. And like I said, you're not going to know on necessarily on these days to take it unless you have the one where it gives this signal. Was that PL? Oh, and there you go. So maybe the right thing to not set it too tight. You know, maybe really have it below that 1601 mark here on your break. And like I said, there's no right way to do it. If you got stopped out on this, maybe next time you come back in, you'll be like, oh, I had that a little tight. Maybe next time I'll give it a little more breathing room so I don't get stopped out. But now, boom, up 30, up 31%. Like, it's starting to go parabolic here. So when you're seeing something go parabolic like this is where you have to start watching for that exhaustion gap. And it, you know, anywhere in here is a good spot. I mean, like I said, if this was a 30% position, and let's say today I got real giddy and I'm like, sell right here, I just locked in a 10% gain for the portfolio. Or is that 3%? No, 10%. 30%. Yeah, I'm sorry. Sometimes the math really... You would think I'm smarter than I am. I'm not. I am. Sometimes I remind myself how dumb I am. Maybe I need more coffee. My coffee machine broke yesterday, which at the rate I'm talking right now might not seem real, but yeah. So as this pulls up to here, you can get out right now and it'd be a 10% gain. I mean, you know, if I woke up, got a 10% gain today on the portfolio for the, I mean, that's nuts. And this is why I said, so like I'm down 7% right now on the month, because I've been, you know, kind of playing around with this stuff, and I keep coming into like, okay, this is how it works. Like, you know, if you really want to outperform, you look for the EPs, you look for and you can do the parabolic shorts. I haven't even got into that because I do see that pattern. Like what we were just talking about, was it ABAT? Nah, no, not really ABAT. There was another one I was just looking at that kind of had that. Was it NBA? No. I don't remember what was I just looking at that had that look to it. Let me just go back to here. Whoops. A little too far. What was another one of these I was just in? Was it Admiral? I don't even remember now. No, not Admiral. That chart looks great. Every time it looks great. Anyways, so, you know, okay, maybe now it moves a little sideways. Any of these things, like now you're selling a strength, or sell 10% here of the 30% position, or whatever it is. Like, if you capture any of these moves, this thing is still going. I mean, crazy. But so, this is kind of what I've been, you know, I keep saying this because there's like so many things I feel like are clicking for me, and I just need to start to execute. So obviously it's not as easy as it sounds. I'm saying this all as I'm watching, you know, so it's in hindsight, but I feel like I'm seeing it now, which is the more important part. But you can get in on any of these moves and really really capture the move. I feel like just based on the way these flags work, this might have another move up. It just looks like to me it's gonna have one more move up. But yeah, okay, I was talking about the parabolic short. What the hell was that stock that I was looking at that had a parabolic short? Well, actually, you know what? Screw it. I was just under here looking at stocks. Like one of these gotta have it. No. This had the Head and Shoulders. The Head and Shoulders is another really clear. Oh, AEVA, that's what the one we were looking at. Yeah, I'm not really seeing any parabolic short setups. I thought there was one where I saw. I mean, neg is kind of an example. It's not really a parabolic short, but you see that end in that strength in this huge down candle followed by another, and you know, I wouldn't call this a parabolic short, but you see this, and like I said, this is another one in terms of a bearish move. Is that really strong downwards channel where it's just super tight, and it's you know, a slope. I don't know what the hell people call these things. But if you're honestly, if I was shorting things, I would be watching that because that pattern shows up. And when it does, it's usually stock has some huge ass run. And now we're talking, this is stage 4 where it tanks. And you could definitely make some moves on the tank there. I'm not shorting yet, so I don't even worry about it. But I want to be looking at part 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the cycle. I think you should be able to capitalize on all of those things. And Newegg, you know, when it gets up to $137 in, what is this, from 3 months, and then 1 month of just, you know, snapping. It's just interesting patterns. Like, you know, that's the thing, is you're just learning these patterns and how to play these things. What's PL doing? Still going? Yeah, still going. So now it's starting to look to me like it's arcing. So that's probably maybe the end of the move. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it'll turn into a triangle. Still trying to run. Now it's trying to go to 33%. So then, like I said, you know, so the goal going forward is I'll have the stuff that I look at the end of the night. I'll go through just to kind of look at the fundamentals of things, which. So, like, for instance, like, good one to do. Let's pull up PL, see what Planet Labs is showing me. And some of these might not have anything. I might not be able to go off the fundamentals, but I don't think it hurts to just peek at it. Especially when a chart's moving like that. One day I hope people find this useful. I hope one day someone can tune into this and realize what it takes to get to this point, because this stream's been going on for forever. And I feel like I'm on the cusp of seeing a lot of this. You know, cash flow from operations is positive. So that's big for me. They do have debt. They have switched over into that. They've been increasing share count somewhat, but everything also, there's a lot of positives going on here. So just even looking at that, it's not super, you know, they could offer some shares to handle that leverage, but the leverage isn't all that scary. They got $441 million in cash, and you know, liabilities are 461. Actual debt is that debt? Short-term debt super low. That's total debt. So they do have debt. But if the revenues are growing right there and they have that much in cash, like, this isn't concerning. Not a concern at all. Well, as the stock price goes up here, this would be one that maybe I would be a little hesitant to keep too large of a position in for too long. And the reason I say that is there's the chance, obviously, of them issuing shares. Still going, 34%. But so, for instance, here, I mean, if you want to play the game of moving your stop loss up, now you'd be at the top of this section, 35%. This thing's moving. This was a good find for the morning, and this is like exactly what you'd want to see from an EP. But you know, EPs are like you have to look at the intraday chart. You know, some people are like, I don't want to do that. Well, okay, this is what you miss out on when you don't look at an intraday chart. So. What else? Is there anything else to? I probably won't do too long of a stream today because, you know, I mean, I could go through some of these fundamentals on these, you know, on NUTX we already know. these other names, ASTS, like people know these names. These aren't like anything new. Even APLD, I feel like that's, most people know APLD. We've definitely covered this on the stream before. But either way, but yeah, so for the rest of the day, I don't have too much to do. I have a few things, but I'm going to get this all cleaned up. And then I'm going to get myself in the position where hopefully I can spend a little bit more time just at the opening of the markets to just kind of keep an eye on things, kind of see if I can play any of these things. Because, I mean, at this point too, you know, if you get decent at this, I mean, you know, PL's a good example of, if average S&P return, you know, okay, so now maybe right now you're getting that first really extended candle. So this is that parabolic move I was telling you about. You'll get that really extended candle here where it's going to keep trying to hit that high. If it breaks through it, good. But if that candle fails and it stops right here, that should be a signal. And a lot of investors are going to take that signal and get out. And if you have a lot of day traders, which probably is a lot of people day trading this right now, that's going to be their signal to get out. So two ways of doing that. I mean, like I said, you could sell part of your position there. Yep. So that to me is the exhaustion candle right there. So you're going to see some people just sell their entire plot right there. Who knows what the amount of volume is that's coming out of that or whatnot. But we'll see, because just because that's an exhaustion candle there, that means that maybe this first parabolic moves on here. But now this could move sideways. It might pull back, cup and handle, those kind of things. So if you're someone who wants to do this as a swing trade, like I said, you have to think, you know, you're letting your winners run. So you don't want to be too hyper aggressive in moving that stop loss up. I mean, you could even keep it at just break even here. I would kill myself if I was up, you know, 34% and it came all the way back down to my buy amount. That would suck. So I, you know, just mentally for my own stability, I'm not trying to, and I know it's trying to like be nitpicky, and you can't time this perfectly. Like I said, when I have my finger on the sell trigger and I'm watching this, it's a lot harder to do what I'm saying. I'm just reading it as I'm seeing it here. But with that being said, instead of selling your entire position, I would think the best thing you could do is, even if you got a little nervous here, that you'd sell part of your position or something like that, because you're not gonna kick yourself like Minervini and all those guys say that, you know, you sell a small part of your position here, you're gonna be, first of all, happy that you locked in some gains there, and then second of all, if it continues to go up, you're not gonna kick yourself because you're like, oh my god, like, you know, there's probably a bunch of people on this is that exhaustion candle of this move. They saw a down move, and they're like, all right, let's just cut the losses, and they took, you know, like a 50% day or a 50-cent day trade win, which, you know, I'm not saying that's not bad if you're scalping, but that's not what I'm trying to do. I don't care about scalping. I want to capture some of these bigger moves while keeping that risk extremely low. I mean, that is the trick. There's nothing else to it. This isn't, I don't even know how long I've been streaming here, an hour course on, you know, most of the things I've learned. And if you can pull this off, you should do just fine. You're actually, now you're starting to see, look at, so it touched the, just like I said, the comp touched the 20-day and it pulled right back up to the 10. So that's recovering. So that shows strength. So the other thing too now, because the markets are acting correct, we can start to go back to the rest of these, and you'll start to notice, wow, look at that. All these ones, I mean, there was a bunch of them that were negative. Now they're all starting to pull up. So this is where some of these, now if you want to do some breakouts, maybe I'll stay on a little bit longer, because now some things are interesting. Let's see. Oh, yes. I had this on there from yesterday, but this broke out yesterday. I wouldn't buy this one today. I'm not telling you guys. I'm saying me. I wouldn't buy this today. CTMX. Wasn't that just down? Like, no. Okay, I'm thinking of a different ticker. It's just above the pivot point. This looks good. What's the volume on this? 147. And the goal with the breakouts too is not much above 5%. That's what most of the professionals say. You don't want it to get extended past that point. So if you're not, I mean, they say within 5% of the pivot point. So it technically could be a little bit higher than that. It could be up 6-7%, but that you're just increasing your risk. And no matter what, the higher you buy, even if if a move moves 20% and you buy at 8, you only got a little bit percent, even though it's up 20% from the start of the day. For you, that's only up like, I don't know, whatever the math works out to be. So you got the first fold here. And now, like I said, with chart reading, the one thing I'll start to wonder is, are we going to form a channel here? Because if it starts to form a long downwards channel or something like that, it could get steeper too. It depends on how these candles start to look. That's where it's broken down, and now we really have to wait for it to form the next base. The whole move's kind of just straight on pause for that. If you were going to short something, if this has one really strong down candle here, this would be where I'd imagine you'd start to look at it. And honestly, if you wanted to just look at it a little bit easier, you could do the 5-minute candles. Wow, look how clean it looks on the 5-minute. I mean, I didn't even pull this up, but I mean, this is super obvious to me in terms of a nice little flag there, and then just clean breakout from it. And now, I mean, we can argue that maybe a channel forms this way. What could happen. It could slant, start to slide, so then the channel would be that way. So this is kind of the thing of like, the way I'm looking at it, like as these things form, like you kind of know what the next good setup would look like, and you know what a bad setup would look like. And if it starts to do this versus, and it doesn't take a genius, I'm saying if it goes down, it's, it's like, I get it, that, but the price really does tell you kind of what's going on. It does tell the story, regardless of whether you can see that or not. And like I said, it looks to me like it's forming a downward channel right here. And this is how they move. I know Q says it all the time, but that's how they move. Quick, this is one thing. Stock charts. Why does it keep taking me off intraday 5-second refresh? Can you riddle me that? Oh, now AEVA's coming back up. Was this the one I said I was interested in? Yeah, see, looks to me like it's starting to break out. Just saying. What is the comp Q? Is it still pushing up? Because if it continues, wow, look at that rebound. This still looks good. This looks good. Okay. So I got to start looking at some. I'm going to be off my screen for a sec, guys, just because obviously I'm not pulling up my account on the live stream, but yeah, I think AEVA looks good here. All right, so it's. What is this like? Wow. Okay. I'm going back and forth if I want to get in here. I might wait for this to pull. I didn't buy just yet. I'm just waiting to see if I want this to form a base or not. What are the other ones doing? AEVA's volume, by the way, is about 1/4 of what it is for a full day, and we're only a half hour in. Oh, actually, we're almost about an hour, but whatever. You get my point. Doesn't matter. Obviously, CTMX, CRML. Yeah, it might have been right to wait just there for what the hell am I looking at on here? It's too low. I mean, this is not yet. FBRX. It looks okay, but I almost want that 20-day to catch up more. Like sometimes I put these on here and that doesn't, just because it forms the pattern doesn't mean it's going to work. Like there's more things I want to see than just, I want to see that tighten up there. It could work. I'm not saying it won't, but what is the actual volume on this FBRX? Yeah, that volume, it's only at 10% no. Oh, okay. So here's an interesting one. So this one, if this holds, it did do the channel, but it broke right out from that channel. So it's bullish again. This thing could go higher. I don't know. I mean, it literally touched the 10 minute, and boom, right off of it. I use EMAs actually I use EMAs for everything now. I know some people don't like to use them. I started using them even on the daily charts, and I like it. I think I'm gonna take AEVA. It's showing enough strength here, I think, for me. Is that comp still finally has a downward candle? It's gonna break. Oh, it's a nice tight candle. It looks close to break even. It's not quite. Let me just pull up AEVA, because the other thing too is if that starts to pause, you might watch this start to pause here too. I'm looking at quite a few different stocks right now, and a lot of them went up pretty strong, and now are pulling back a little bit. So I'm just watching before I take a buy here. What's AEVA's weekly look like? It looks like we're early in the handle. If AEVA works. So that might make me want to wait a little bit. I don't throw too much on the weekly, but I peek at it. Yeah, but I like it on the daily. All right, let me. All right, I'm gonna set my order up. Just look at that intraday chart one more time. All right, we'll take it there. All right, so it got in 1618, it triggered. So this is where you have to watch it really close. So I already have it pulled up. And I just have it to sell on market. The bid is it's tight enough to it's okay. You know, I'm looking, you know, on this 2 minute here. This one here is kind of setting a little bit of a bottom. It's, you know, it's kind of whatever. But seeing if a flag can form here, even if it's a tight one. And then yeah, so I'm just watching. If it drops much from here, I'll just get out. And if you're curious, it's a 25% position, so oh, keep going. What do I need for a breakout? 34. And I'm just in a breakout from right here. If it breaks through that, I'm immediately going to set my, 33. 30, there we go, okay. Set my stop loss. All right, there you go. So I'm going to break even now. That's simple. We'll see if it can hold. I don't know. It's close. And that's the thing. It will be tight, but you want to find these parabolic moves. 1640, 43, 44. Ah, we might have locked it in. Perfect. Bouncing around, but we'll see. We'll see where it ends up. All right, well that worked. Is anything else? And honestly, nowadays, just because of the way I do things, I try not to take on too many stocks. Like, you know, I used to I'd buy like 5 or 6 stocks in the morning, like, but my spreads were pretty loose, and you know my stop losses were a lot looser, so like it didn't matter so much. But what do you call it? But like I said, usually in my watch list, I'll see like 2 or 3 that are kind of towards the top, and those are usually the ones I'm probably going to be interested in. What's PL doing right now? Let's pull. We'll just open up another tab here. So it's kind of slowed up a little bit. So. Kind of bearish looking. I mean, there's your old head and shoulders, and now it's all selling volume, so it might slow down. All right, I mean, I got 45 is the ask here. The bid ask on this is I have 36 and 43 right now, so it's a little wide, but it's not that bad. But I'm hoping more volume will come in here because it's still only at I got 560 according. This is Fidelity, so I don't know. It's still bouncing back. Like now it's got it dropped. So yep, and there PL. Now you're gonna watch this turn into the channel where it slides. So it wasn't quite that one. It did have a little bit, but that was the exhaustion candle there. So I guess it's kind of a good, I hope people find this useful. This is kind of like live watching this. I think it's cool. If I had someone show me this when I first started, I would be happy. And you're watching, the overall market itself start to slow up a little bit, which, like I said, that parabolic move. So I'm not saying you have to watch all these things, but I find if you watch the comp at the same time as, you know, these are good setups, you have a little bit of an idea of the setups and how they work and where things can go and what the volume coming in is. If you can put those few things together and do that, you should be able to kind of hold things. Ooh, there, AEVA just popped. Boom, baby. Now we're in the 60s. All right. Yeah. Okay. I think I'm escaped this section here, so I'm not doing anything. My stop loss is right where I got in, so it's not you know, at this point, I really don't feel like sitting and watching this all day. Sometimes I do. Depends. And I am actually home, like I said, so I can watch it a little bit better. But you know, occasionally more what I'll do is because once again, if it pulls back and I get stopped out, it is what it is. But if it continues up, the next time I look at the chart, it should have some kind of pattern formed, and that way I'll know where the next base is and kind of where, if it breaks through. It's come right back down now, of course. Is everything going right back down? And like I said, this is why it is a tough market right now. You know, there's a lot of names. I see you get in, and is that comp really dropped? Not much, but it is dropping back. But yeah, nothing else really has caught my eye yet today. What's GN's stock look like? Or chart, I should say. Oh yeah, not broken out yet. Okay. And see, like this is, you know, people are buying right here. Like, I would be really cautious to buy on that spot. Reason I'm saying that is because, like I said, usually there's that long channel here that it's going to go down, and if you're trying to catch this without letting this go sideways for a while, like now if it started to bounce in here and you wanted to cheat a little bit and get interested, sure, but and you know, I don't know how many of these people are like day trading down to the second, or if it's a computer or whatnot. I don't know, who cares. All right. So now I guess I'll just keep an eye on ABAT here. Ugh, it's pulling back. It might hit my stop loss, which, like I said, whatever. But that's essentially how I can get into a name, have very minimal risk, almost right off the rip. You know, I got lucky; it bounced right up to above where I was in it, and I will say I'll watch a little bit here because that bid ask gets kind of close to where I want. I don't want it to gap down way below where I'm at. So there's still good volume coming in. I mean, there's still people buying and watching this one. So but yeah, so okay. I don't think there's much else to do in terms of that. I'm gonna drive myself nuts clicking refresh on this, so I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna back out and leave it on the where it stands. I'm just gonna leave on the stream. I know I said before I usually use a mental stop, but because I'm on the stream, I'm not. I have my stop loss put on. I'm not messing around. If I was just me and I was able to focus on it, I wouldn't have put my stop loss in, but I just have it in because I'm not trying to do too many things at once in my head here. All right, is there anything else that's going on here? I guess the only other thing is just if we go through my watch list here, You know, like I said, ABAT pulled back. AEVA, obviously, I think looks good. NX, this was another one I liked. I thought it had formed a nice cup and handle here. I mean, it's a really, really tiny handle, but if you, you know, I say that, but let's just zoom in for just a split second here. Like you if you look at it like this is where it's that longer handle. Or no, was that down here? Where was that? What day was that? I was talking on December 4th. Can you see it on here? It's not as apparent as I was hoping it would be, but I think I remember looking at it on this day, and I think I was looking at the 5, and I wasn't gonna take it just because I'm really watching how some of these handles form. I feel like usually it should go one more day. This one happened to pop right up, so I didn't catch this. But another example of really strong. And now there's a bit of a flag pattern there, and it breaks down. But once again, breaks down, touches the 10-day, will not go through it, and then starts to come back up. That's a signal that even though there was a breakdown in the pattern, it's now moving in the right direction again. And if it sets up again into some kind of pattern that you're used to recognizing, you can take advantage of that. Now, I'll argue it's not the cleanest setup. The 20 is not super close. You know, we're already in this uptrend and whatnot. But there's really good, I mean, not high buying volume. High buying volume's way back here. This is kind of that episodic pivot type day. I don't know if there was news on that day, but this would have been another one where you could have possibly tried to get in the morning and catch that high run. Arrow looks pretty good here, actually. Looks like it's right there. Like I would draw a line across, and you know it'd be that upward wedge. I don't even honestly know some of the names. I just know kind of what I'm looking for now. APLD. So like this one, it shows some strength here, but this is going to need longer. You know, I was thinking that this might be a bit of a handle right here, but that breakdown here makes me think that it's not ready yet. So we'll take that one off. No, I'm just curious what's ABAT doing. It's so hard when you see this not to keep checking things. Oh, did I get stopped? I probably got stopped. I didn't see what it did. Low 60 to 40. Yeah, so I got stopped. So whatever, I'm out. Doesn't really matter. But you know, that's also why you know, if you can't watch, it's good. And if I was watching, you know, I might just see where the one candle goes, and if it can't hold up in that 2-minute time period, then that's it for me. I'm out. So obviously my timing is a little late on this one. Probably this was the ideal place to catch this one. Had this first big move up. I just wasn't watching that closely, which normally I just have that screen up and I'm always just watching it. So it should kind of tune me into the ones that are moving. And you know, the problem with this is we might be at the top of this start of this move, which means for the rest of the day, this probably kind of just trails sideways. Who knows? It could break out again. Depends what the overall markets are going to do and that kind of thing. But like this was a false breakout. So this one's tough because it looks at one point like it's definitely broken out from this range. But it's kind of moving all over. So those ones are just tough to catch. This one's just not doing anything. Not doing anything. CURI, I actually had thrown this on a list. I was a little, I didn't, I saw it was actually down yesterday, but I was wondering if it could continue upwards here because it looked like there's a bit of a wedge there. It had broken out maybe on, what was it say? Today's Thursday, so Monday. This got a nice clean setup. Really tight candle today. So if you see decent volume come in by the end of today, it's good. Looks good. LPTH looks like it's setting up nicely. Just needs maybe a little more time. Neg looks like it's actually kind of losing some steam. Nothing there. NUTX is just kind of holding. Nova hasn't done anything. Is this right? 814 still? Pack broke. There's a bit of a wedge there, and it just broke through it. So it could recover by end of the day. So I don't like midday take this off my list. But this setup's kind of broke for the time being. It's PL at 29% now. Prax still looks pretty good. Pump's hanging in there. It's a little choppy, but a tough one to stay in though. That's a tough one though. But it's good to keep an eye on those. SSP. This was the one I played earlier in the week. Just held it for that day. Got a not a ton on it, but now Wolf's kind of setting up here. It's a little choppy, but it could be a bit of a handle forming here too. And sometimes too, like I like to see that. Like, so here's a bigger handle, here's a wedge, here's a smaller handle. You know, it's like the fractals idea. Have a couple things kind of working through. But that's the watch list for today, which, like I said, I don't really see too much going on here. AEVA's probably going to skyrocket now that I got it stopped out. Let me just pull up that chart, because this is the other thing too. I'm not saying you can't get back in. If this starts to shape up, I'll re-enter. And while I'm doing that, well, how did I get to this? I was just like, what is going on here? Oh my God. Blah, blah, everything rose. This was a week ago. It's their LiDAR technology. Generate a 3D map of the world around a vehicle. Okay. Now it broke down. I think the PL chart got me excited that this one was going to keep going higher. So a bit of a pullback. Once again, see, like, did I change something? Oh, you know what? It's because I'm hitting back to it. I think that's why. I think it's why it takes that off. But yeah, I'm not seeing enough volume in any of these other ones. So I think that's it for today for me. And we're out of that, so we don't have to worry about those. But yeah, so my goal, clean these up. Just so I can have them in the morning and just let me know if there's anything going on. Like, that news would have been good to know, because maybe I would have been watching AEVA a little bit closer, knowing that they had just had a deal. And maybe I could have gotten, because that's the thing too. I mean, if you had gotten in, I keep doing this, but let me just pull up one more chart. Oh, I messed up OBS. What in the hell am I doing here? Like, where, so if I'm just drawing one of my incredible lines here, that puts me right above that 1482 mark. So I mean, you could have argued that you'd want to be in at like 1550-ish. So a bit late to the party, obviously. I mean, that's just is what it is. No, what am I? Oh, where's my current list? Yeah. So, and you know, sector-wise, it is weak. It's honestly, that's like the only one that's in here, but I just like that. I still like that chart. I like that setup. And yeah, it's going to look weaker on the sector, which it's kind of a moot point because who cares? Like, it went in this downtrend. It's still above the moving averages. Like that's more like even though it's not the strongest in the sector, you know, it definitely wasn't the strongest at 10, and here it is at 16 again. So we'll see. You know, if this could turn into real numbers, that can be a big deal for a company. All right, well, guys, I think I'm going to end it there. I don't really have much else to cover. I'm not sure if I can do a stream this weekend, so I'm at least happy I was able to get one in today. But my goal, like I said, get this all cleaned up, and then Johnny, he'll let you guys know if he's able to do one. I don't know if he wants to do a solo one this weekend. If not, then we'll be back next weekend. So at least we're back, got the stream going. I feel like today was somewhat interesting. PL was cool to watch. It was a good test of seeing how things work and kind of in real time trying to, you know, apply your knowledge to see where something's going and how strong or weak it looks. And you know, that, like I said, the idea is not that you're going to make perfect decisions, it's that you're going to make educated decisions. And from there, as long as it's kind of hedged in your odds, like you should do okay. Even though I took AEVA today, like I said, is break even. I got to see. I might have got like the spread I might have lost a penny or two on it, which sucks, but it is what it is. And then PL would have been the play today for sure. I mean, that was blatantly obvious. And I will say, since I've been putting my setups and going through my current list like that, I noticed that I've seen probably 3 or 4 good EPs that, you know, pop right to the start of the list. You can see it at the start of the day, and I might start to play them. I don't typically play them just because I wanted to focus on breakouts. You know, I wanted to just really stick to one idea and not get too crazy. But man, I mean, if I had taken, I took 25% AEVA, so PL, you know, I'm not saying I would have took 30, because I do like 25. 25 seems really like a good number. There's a lot of reasons for that. And you know, with the EPs, my thing is making sure it doesn't gap down on me. That's part of the reason I worry about doing some of those things. I find less on a breakout it'll gap down right through my stop loss versus an EP, just because there's so much volume and there's so much price action in the morning. It's just the volatility is very high. So maybe I'll find, though, if I keep watching and I keep seeing a few work like I just did, I'll start taking them on. And obviously they work. I mean, you know, Q said that's one of his bread and butter trades is EPs, especially when breakouts aren't like just the obvious choice. And you'll notice too, if you go through the charts, like look back when the comp Q or the NASDAQ started to recover from the tariff news. And you will just watch every strong stock began to break out there. It would take an initial jump, and then it would set up, and then it would break out. So within those first month or two, there were so many things moving, and I was not good at reading the setups like I am now, or at least I think I am now. I mean, I feel like I can see things. And now I see the setups, and they just there's not a lot of follow through. So and that's kind of why I changed the market strength indicator, because I don't really care. There is breakouts occurring. Don't get me wrong. Like my breakout number, I still see, you know, like 10 or so stocks breaking out a day. But the setups aren't always clean. So it's like, you know, I wouldn't have called that one. And I'm not really following them in the idea that some are up after like 3 to 5 days. But I mean, that's always easy to say in hindsight. It doesn't matter in the long run. Like, who cares if 3 of them worked? You know, I'm not trying to, when I was doing the shotgun spread before, let's say there's, 6, 7 stocks that break out that look decent to me and had good volume. If I spread my bets across those and, only 1 or 2 worked out, it didn't matter so much because the losses were smaller on the other ones. But my position size wasn't as big, so I wasn't getting these big gains. When I look at it like this, like, I was just showing you a way that you could have gotten 10% in like an hour for your entire portfolio. And I'm not recommending you do any of this, by the way. This takes a lot of practice, and it's super easy to say it while I'm not actually buying something. Like AEVA didn't work out. The one I bought did not work out. Keep that in mind. But with that being said, it's a way to do it. Like, you can make crazy, it doesn't even bother me. Before I used to be like, oh my God, how did I not buy PL? And I would have bought it late and I would have gotten stopped out or worse. So I'm glad I don't do those mistakes anymore, but we'll see. Going forward, I just want to start to get my head wrapped back around everything a little bit better than I had. And I want to get my database really cleaned up. I want to go through and just kind of wipe this all out and get it set up to maybe, I'll have the overall database with everything, and then maybe I'll just have just the stuff on my watch list, and that way I can just kind of focus on those 20 to 30 stocks. And then the only other thing too is, like, in the back of my mind, Johnny sent me a text from RK, and it wasn't a text from RK. It was something RK had written to the board of GameStop a long time ago, before it had even taken off. Basically say that, because of technical analysis, he was able to basically avoid bankrupt companies. And now that I'm better at reading the technical side of things, and I remember him saying he read O'Neill's book. I don't know why that didn't click earlier to me, how important that probably was to his process. But if you're buying long-term leaps on some of these companies that have some kind of catalyst that you can, you think you can have a ballpark idea on, and those leaps are super cheap, like GME was at the time. The risk reward there obviously panned out for him, but just in general, it is at the point that there's a real unfound style of deep value that RK is, I think, only the person who's really done it successfully, where you would look at stuff that's out of favor. And, we kind of talked about this with like NUTX, it's an out of favor stock, and, Value had found, like, he really liked just their story and where they were going with things. And then they came out with the numbers, and he was dead. They were right, and he was right to believe in what they were saying. And those ones, as soon as that chart starts to break out, you could really narrow down some good deep value plays. So there's somewhere in the back of my mind, I don't know if I want to make another account and try that style, but I don't want to do too many things at once. So my goal is, as of right now, to continue to work on this style of just kind of working on breakouts and doing this trading style. But then if it does work and I can throw into the mix a little bit more, so, let's say I could do this full time. If that ever worked out, then I think I would make another portfolio where I would try deep value in that style. But you have to have time. I have to have the time to be able to look at stuff like that. And that's, we've already said it. That's why we switched over, because it just became a lot. And, before I had kids, not such a big deal. Now that I'm busy a lot, and, anybody who has kids, what it's like when you got 2 and you're trying to do a million things. It's just too much to be reading. There's just so much reading, and I don't mind it. I enjoyed it. It's just too much. So I want to get this cleaned up, start getting things updated, so I'm a little bit more up to date on just the tickers that I'm looking at the time. And then, I'm just kind of waiting. I'm seeing, what does the market do from here? It looks like the market doesn't know what it's doing. In terms of, like, no one can really decide, is that how much that rate cut has an effect. It looks like the job growth has been slowing down. I'm not one to really read the fundamentals of, like, the macro setting, just because sure, I can assume things are bad or good, but honestly, if there's not really a catalyst anyways, things don't really change all that much. So, I guess the goal would be, well, I mean, we'll know, because when you start seeing the breakouts last, you know, that's when I'll switch over from trimming, you know, almost the entire position on day one to maybe I'll trim half and let it go another 3 to 5 days. And if that starts to work, I'll start trimming, you know, maybe a half or a third after the 3 to 5 days, and then start letting that last chunk go for the next, you know, down candle or a 10-day moving average. That's kind of in my head how I'm working things out now. So I hope someone finds this enjoyable. No one made it today. I know it's kind of it's a weird time anyways too. It's like market's open. It's a Thursday. No one cares. No one even knows who I am. No one knows who we are yet, except all the few of you who have always been loyal followers. So thank you for tuning in. But if you did find this helpful, please subscribe, join the Discord. I'd like to have a lot more dialogue with people, because a lot of it's just kind of, you know, just a few of us in our own ideas. And yeah, I don't think I have anything else right now. You know, like I said, it's been a long time, so that's why I'm just in my head. I'm trying to think, is there anything I've missed on what's been going on? But I don't think so. I think we're good. So we'll see how the rest of the day goes. I'll probably tune in sometime around, you know, lunch-ish, RU 1 o'clock Eastern, just see how things have moved. And then at the end of the day, I'll take a peek. I don't really buy stuff at the end of the day, because I don't really want to take a large position at the end of the day on something, because you just really don't know what's going to happen the next day. You know, my whole point is I'm saying I want to trim at the end of the day, not be purchasing something. I mean, there is the occasional setup like I showed where the next day something really pops, but they're far and few between, and it's really hard to guess those. But I will say, if you get that perfect setup where you got that heavy volume on a day on a tight candle that's really setting up well, that should be a warning or a signal at least. Maybe worth taking a risk on that. Because was that PL? Was that the one that did that? Because, man, imagine you caught the whole move. Yeah, I was saying 30%. I mean, up 10% a day. You know, your chances of getting in the day before were low, but this was on my watch list because I thought it was a good clean setup. And I'll say maybe if you see this exact setup, I would take it. Take it next time. Maybe I won't do such a big position. You know, maybe take just like 10%. If it works out, great. If not, not a big deal. And if I start to see it, you know, continually work, then I would maybe take a little bit more risk. And this is, I will say, if you just historically look at the stock, it does tend to gap up at times. So, and it gaps up on super heavy volume. So, yes, this is probably one of the cases where just because of the fundamentals, people don't really believe in it, but then things change, and then all of a sudden everybody piles in. And I mean, this is 29 million volume at $17 a share, so it's a lot of money coming in this thing. All right, well, I hope everybody has a good rest of your day. We'll update in the chat. Basically, if we're going to do one this weekend, I don't think I'll be able to make it either way, but Johnny might, so we'll let everybody know. But other than that, miss everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good rest of your day, guys.